Well, hello everybody, I'm Howser, and here we are in San Bernardino on a very hot summer day. We've pulled over to the side of the road to take a quick look at our eventual destination. Those are the San Bernardino Mountains up there, and if you look very closely, you'll be able to see the outline on the side of the mountain of where we're heading for this particular adventure. They tell us that whole area up there is rich in history. All kinds of neat things have happened there over the years. And if you're curious as to where we're going and exactly what we're going to find when we go up on that mountain, well, as always, you're invited to come on along with us as we continue our search together on the mountain for California's gold. It covers about 7.5 acres. It's over 1,300 feet long, 450 feet wide, and visible for nearly 30 miles on a clear day. It's clearly the most distinctive natural landmark in the Inland Empire. We're talking about the Arrowhead, which has been a part of the landscape around here for hundreds, thousands of years. Located on the south slope of the San Bernardino Mountains, it's part of an area called Arrowhead Springs. Now, we were heading for the Arrowhead, but before we got there, we had some other stops to make, because as we quickly discovered, this whole area is rich with history. Well, Rod, we are starting our adventure, I guess, at the most important place here in Arrowhead Springs, the actual springs themselves. And these look like they're not cold springs, they're hot springs.
They're very hot. Fact is, this is the original spot in this whole area here where they first developed the Arrowhead Springs. And the Indians came here and they saw that as a therapeutic and a lot of healing and a lot of spiritual aspects of the Indians, as well as the evolving as the Americans came in and started their infirmaries and had healing centers and just evolved throughout the years with the hotels here.
All because of these hot springs. Now, were they just bubbling up all through the hills here?
Now, actually, there are hot springs all throughout the property that just percolate up from the ground. A lot of geothermal source.
And how hot? I saw a sign out there that says this water is what, about 100 and...
This is about 170 degrees here.
So how hot? That's hot.
That is very hot.
Okay, so is it too hot for me to even put my finger in?
I think you could do it real quick.
Would people actually... They wouldn't sit in these. They couldn't sit in water this hot.
They would actually run them over rocks and try to bring up the steam in the hot water. And
wow,
it is cooking.
That is, whoa!
Yeah, we even have water even hotter on the property.
And that's coming right up out of the ground, that hot.
That's correct.
Now, how would the Indians use these hot springs?
They would use them for cleaning themselves. Back then, we didn't have showers. And so they would use a lot of that hot water and that steam to cleanse their body, and it would be a healing process as well.
Kind of a spiritual thing.
It was.
And when the Americans came, they saw it as therapeutic or medicinal, or how would they use it?
Originally in the mid-1800s, they did it as well for an infirmary. They had a sanitarium here. And TB was really, really big in the mid-1800s, and they established a site here at Arrowhead Springs to help heal not only the people in the local area, they would try to get people to travel in from all over the world for those healing properties.
And I've seen pictures of them being used for other practical purposes as well.
That's right, Hugh. They even used the hot water to slow cook hams and eggs, and kind of a novelty in the hotel, and so that was very unique for this area. Not too many places could do that.
It was that hot.
It was very hot. Yeah, it is quite a unique spot. It's noted worldwide as the hottest water in the world.
What?
Hottest water in the world.
This is the hottest
it is.
Naturally occurring, bubbling up out of the ground water in the entire world?
That's right.
Now I've hooked up with Honey Wilson, and this is an absolutely spectacular view here. Very tropical, very California.
Yes.
But look at this. This is part of the history of Arrowhead Springs as well, because, Honey, this was the site, well, this is the third hotel that's been here. There have been some spectacular buildings here over the years.
Yes, there have. They started back in the 1800s, and there were 2 structures that were here previous. And the second hotel was quite a Hollywood magnet back in the 20s and the 30s. And both of those structures, they burned down in fires.
Really?
So this particular hotel has been standing since 1939. It was built by the Arrowhead Springs Corporation. It was a corporation that was headed by a gentleman named Jay Pally, and he was the president of CBS at that time. So the whole hotel was put together by a bunch of Hollywood types that took ownership, Darryl Zanuck and Claudette Colbert and Al Jolson. So.
And this was built, what, as a retreat for Hollywood stars to come out here and...
Yeah, absolutely. They'd come out here and they would literally spend weeks at a time just laying by the pool and doing the hot springs and the steam caves and all kinds of things. So.
Now, we have some pictures here. You've got some of the examples of stars who were here in this very hotel.
This is Eddie and Ida Cantor, John Payne and Gail Russell, Jimmy Durante.
Oh, boy.
Alan Ladd. This one's Al Jolson. This was opening night 1939. It was broadcast throughout the nation on CBS.
On CBS?
Yes.
Because Paley was one of the owners of it.
This is Susan Hayward, Rudy Valley.
Oh, my gosh.
So there was quite a few that came and spent time here. Al Jolson used to say that his regular routine would include 2 rounds of golf, swimming in the pool, some skiing, the hot steam, coming out of the steam caves. That was just his regular routine.
Well, it's interesting that it's still here. When you look down here, Louie, you can see the old tennis courts down at the bottom of the hill. Those were probably original to that.
They were, actually. They used to have all kinds of sports figures that would come here and give tennis, tennis training and swimming and golf lessons and all sorts of things.
You pointed out we're very disappointed because we were going to get to go to room
620.
620 today, but you told us that it's occupied.
Unfortunately, yes.
But tell everybody what the significance, and it's right up there. It's the middle of the 3 rooms up on the top. What the significance is of room 620.
Well, actually, back in the 50s, Conrad Hilton owned this hotel for about 4 years, and it was said that Arrowhead Springs was second in his heart only to the Waldorf Astoria. So his son, Mickey Hilton, was getting married at the time, and of course, what a great place to have his honeymoon. He was marrying Elizabeth Taylor. So they spent their honeymoon night here up in 620. So the legacy for Elizabeth Taylor started here at Arrowhead Springs.
So that's the Elizabeth Taylor bridal suite.
Yes, it is.
For the first one of her many marriages. That in itself makes that a historic place.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Well, let's walk up to the hotel because you really get a sense of, you can really get a sense of the grandeur of the place. Nestled here in the mountains with this beautiful big lawn. It has that Hollywood feel to it, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. And this place was just so popular, actually right up until the war started, World War II. And then it became not so fashionable for the stars to be laying around the swimming pools and hanging out at resorts. They were doing things like promoting war bonds and all that. So that was
wasn't this used by the Navy during World War II?
It was. There was actually 6,600 Navy servicemen that received treatment here at the hotel.
So this was a convalescent hospital for World War II.
Yes, it was.
Then it went through a number of ownership changes, and in the 1960s, it was bought by
Campus Crusade for Christ.
So since early 1960s, this has been a facility used by the Campus Crusade for Christ.
Yes, it has.
And what do you use it for?
Right now, we retain it strictly for conferences and retreats, but in the past, it was the international headquarters for Campus Crusade for Christ.
Now we've come inside the hotel to to a room that really has retained its original elegance.
Yes, it has. We call this the candlelight room, obviously, for the beautiful candelabra that are all the way around the room. And these are the original candelabra that were here back in 1939.
Now, what would have happened in this room besides lots of obviously interesting big dinner parties with lots of Hollywood celebrities sitting around at all these tables looking out at this grand view out on the lawn?
Actually, back in 1939, this is where they had the opening ceremonies, and there were 350 stars that came here. Judy Garland sang, Al Jolson was here, Rudy Valley was on the program. It was broadcast nationwide over CBS. this was the hub of the hotel where they'd have the big bands play. There was a dance floor here. It was really kind of the central place, the happening place back then.
Well, all of these grand old hotels had rooms like this, didn't they?
The big grand ballroom.
Wow, there's so much of the original hotel still here. This has got to be
Yes,
original.
it is. It's original. These sconces, the mirror here, as well as a lot of the furniture in the hotel is original from the 1940s.
Okay, this is kind of the side lobby. When we go into the main lobby, John, this is the original deco look.
Yes, that was very much so, very popular in 39, 40 when this was built. And the lobby has maintained the look, that is the floor. And these large cases, pieces of furniture, original. And an interesting thing about those, that is a phony, and it was pulled out. If you pull this away from the wall, it has a coat hanger, a rack, like when you had a party and they sold the area, when you had rain here. I did not know that until a few years ago when they were cleaning up around here, and I realized, well, what this was. So knowing that you like spooky things, there's a closet rack. Now, it's tied down for earthquake reasons.
Well, how do I know there's something back there? How do I know you didn't just make that up? And actually, I'd heard there was another story about this as well.
Yes, there is. Actually, back in the 30s, when there used to be a lot of gambling that went on here with the resort, they have, did you notice the long windy road when you drove in? That was put there purposely because they could stop the police and the authorities long enough to hide all of the gambling equipment, and these are fake fronts. So there's rumor that they used to take all of this gambling equipment, stash it in all the fake fronts, so that when the police got here after the long windy drive, everything was
So there was
fine.
gambling up here.
Absolutely.
John, you said this was used for as a coat closet. You sanitized the story.
Well, the rod is there for hanging coats when you'd have bad weather or something.
But you also had plenty of room there for slot machines as
I
well.
would imagine it looks about the right width.
Okay, now boy, this is like a $5 tour we're getting today.
Well, spared no expense.
We're out is this the front? This is the back of the hotel, really, isn't it?
Well, it's the front door. The other is the most prominent and was featured in brochures from the very beginning, as well as Campus Crusade for Christ.
Rod, there's something else that's important right up these steps in this beautiful part of the hotel grounds.
That's right. That's our mud bath area, and that dates way back into the late 1800s and early 1900s. And there's a lot of stories about the mud bath area. And as we move on up, I'll show you a couple unique things that a lot of people don't know and a lot of people won't admit to.
What do you mean?
Well, there's some pictures and some stories about how people used to sit on these pedestals and pack themselves in mud, and they had an over awning area. And one of the discussions that's a little controversial is that some of the mud, supposedly Egyptian mud, was taken from the local dairy, and
so
they
it wasn't
used
really
it,
mud.
Well, it was a form of mud generated by some cows.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of stories out there like that. And during the 40s, when the Navy had the hotel as a rehab hospital, they would take a lot of this mud and do packs up in the therapy rooms up in the hotels.
So this is where they would get the mud to carry over to the hotel.
That's correct.
For therapy, for mud packs,
That's
for
right.
beauty treatments.
That's right. Yeah. Back then, because the whole area of the hotel was therapeutic, and it was an infirmary, it was a rehab hospital, mud, steam, hot water, everything fit together just perfectly.
Well, let's go down here. Where's the mud today? I don't see any mud. It's all concrete.
It is. It's been pretty much no longer a mud bath for a number of years. Years ago, it was a fountain, had colored lights, and it's currently abandoned at this point. However, it has a lot of possibilities that we could bring it back.
Well, it just gets better and better because, of course, a big luxury Hollywood hotel had to have a big luxury Hollywood pool. And here it is right here.
Yes.
Boy, that is a beauty.
Yes, this is what we call our cabana pool, obviously. We've got the beautiful cabana set on either side. This pool was built for Esther Williams when she filmed her movie Neptune's Daughter. She actually filmed 2 movies here, the other one called The Thrill of a Romance. So I can just see her doing her water ballet in the middle of the pool. It's just a perfect location for someone like her.
Boy, the setting here, too, it's just spectacular. And this is the original 1940s, 1939 pool.
Yes, it is. It's very unique. It has a lot of individual mosaic tile on the bottom. It's quite unusual with the scalloped edges. I think it's one of the most beautiful of its kind around.
And that's historic water because Esther Williams was in that water.
Yes, she was. She was.
Along with other stars?
Yes, this was the place for the stars to hang out. In fact, you could rent the little cabanas on either side and get your massage there during the day, and the wait staff would bring you your drinks, and this would just be the central place to hang out. Huell, I forgot to tell you, I have the most incredible shot of Humphrey Bogart standing, I believe right in this spot here next to the pool in his swimsuit and flippers. It's just absolutely adorable.
And Humphrey Bogart was standing about right here?
Yes, about right here in his flippers by the pool. Unmistakable.
Well, we've got some new little Humphrey Bogarts in the pool today. Y'all know this is a very historic pool. Yeah, and these are the historic cabanas. Looks like they're almost original.
Yes.
And when you get out here, you've got the wonderful shot of the mountains, the huge trees, and then back up here, if we come over here, Louie, and take a look, this is the second part of our program, you know, honey. We're going to go up to the side of the mountain. If you look up on the side of the mountain, there is the Arrowhead. That is the natural part of this whole story. We've been concentrating on the hotel and the historical part of the 40s era so far. But we're going to end up in just a minute, although actually we've got one more place to go, don't we?
Yes, we do. There's one place that you cannot miss, and that is the steam caves at Arrowhead Springs.
The steam caves are our next destination before we go up to the Arrowhead. And boy, I tell you what, I am getting real close to just taking off my jeans and going in my boxers right now.
You know, this pool, even though it's nice and hot outside, and this pool actually is heated by hot springs, which I forgot to tell you. We use the geothermal here to heat this pool. We actually have to cool it down before it goes into the pool. But right now, it's probably in the 80s.
Oh, this is
and we
nice
can heat
water.
this till well into the 90s.
This is nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful. In the morning, you see the steam coming off it all year round.
Well, steam is the operative word because right now we're going to the hidden part of this story, the steam caves.
Yes.
Okay, now we've done it. To end up this part of our adventure, we have come into a very tropical, very overgrown, very adventuresome-looking path, Rod, that takes us down to really one of the secrets of the old hotel.
It sure does, Huell. Actually, as we spoke earlier about the hot springs area, this is one of the few remaining hot springs that we call the steam caves that is actually built inside the ground, inside the embankment.
Where the hotel is.
That's correct.
Boy, I want you to know that it's an adventure just getting here, but this is the kind of stuff I like. This is real history right here. Tell us what we're looking at.
Well, what we're looking at, as we spoke of earlier, this is the outside of the steam caves, and this is built actually back into the embankment underneath the hotel.
So the hotel's just right up here.
That's correct.
And this whole area, you've got a part of a building here. You've got an old building here with these wonderful old glass tiles here. What happened down here, Rod?
Well, during the era that they built this for the rehabilitation for this side of the infirmary and the rehab hospital during the war, they used this during that era, and they actually had a men's side and a women's side. because it was outfitted with both men and women. They had massage tables. They did all different types of therapy in here, much like the cleansing that we spoke of earlier with the Indians.
Boy, look at this. This is neat. Hello? Oh, my gosh. Now, it's got to be way over 100 degrees in here, maybe 120, 130.
It is. With the steam, it is very, very warm.
And, oh, my God, oh, here's the cave. This is the cave.
Yeah, this is one of the caves that they used to come in, and the hot water would roll underneath those redwood slats. They'd sit on these benches in here, and that hot water would percolate and steam. And as you can feel it as we're standing here, nasal passages and all different other ailments were noted to be cured.
What's that white stuff on the rocks?
That's all the scale and calcium deposits from the mineral water.
And these are the original benches.
They are.
And there were all of these little rooms here where people would come and get steam.
That's right.
And then when they would come in here, this was the, oh boy. People haven't been in here a while, have they?
It's been a while.
This is where they would come and get a rub down, get a massage.
That's right. That's right. There was old exercise equipment, some of the old machinery that had the leather belt that would vibrate your tummy and get rid of some of that unwanted fat. All happened right in here.
Well, it's interesting because we started this adventure with the natural hot springs outside that the Indians used hundreds, thousands of years ago.
That's right, same principle.
And here we are in, well, this place doesn't look like it's been used for decades.
Yeah, it's been a number of years.
Well, thank you for letting us come in here.
You're surely
Not many people come through here, do they?
Yeah, don't want to do it too much.
Well, we're ending up this part of our adventure here at the Arrowhead Bowl, which was actually dedicated by the Reverend Billy Graham back in 1967. Thank you all very much for the tour. Rod and I are still sweating like horses here after that steam cave. Thanks a lot.
That's right. That's right. We are beating sweat.
That was above and beyond the call of duty. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Hugh. My pleasure.
We've had a great time, but we still have the natural part of our tour. And there it is up there on the mountain. That's an arrowhead up there. And Nick, you're a member of the San Bernardino Historical Society, and that's the arrowhead.
That's the arrowhead, that's right. Many people that live in the San Bernardino area don't realize there is an arrowhead on that mountain. And people see names like Arrowhead School, Arrowhead Avenue, Arrowhead Cleaners, Arrowhead Country Club,
Lake Arrowhead.
And actually most people think that all these businesses named Arrowhead or streets are named after Lake Arrowhead. But Lake Arrowhead wasn't named Lake Arrowhead until the 1920s. And basically, they're all named after this geological formation.
Well, I think our camera can pick it up. Even the Arrowhead water was named after that arrowhead, right?
That's right.
Okay, we're hiking up to the arrowhead, and Melinda, as close as you get to it, you begin to really see the outline. What is the explanation as to how the arrowhead got there? Why does it look like that?
There's two theories as to why it maybe became a natural phenomenon and developed right here. One is that there was a storm cell, a cloudburst that occurred over the top of the arrowhead, and the rain was so concentrated on the ridges that it washed down the topsoil here and down through the Arrowhead landmark itself, causing the Arrowhead landmark to be formed. The other is that it was a lake bed that raised up and the soil is slightly different than the outside, but we've done soil samples and there is no difference, negligible difference between the inside and outside of the landmark.
So how did it get there? Give us your Forest Service opinion on how that arrowhead got there.
It's just a natural phenomena. It has the only difference between the Arrowhead landmark and the surrounding area is that for some reason in the Arrowhead landmark itself the vegetation that grows is of a lighter consistency than the outside.
Now, do we know when the arrowhead was first discovered, when somebody actually looked up here and said, wow, that looks like an arrowhead?
There's Indian legends, but the first recorded instance is back in 1774 by Captain Juan Bautista de Anza. in his expedition, and the earliest known written recording is in 1810.
So it's been here a long time, probably a lot longer than that.
Yes,
I mean, the Indians probably knew about it for hundreds of years before that.
yes, there's a number of Indian legends associated with the Arrowhead landmark.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This has been a wonderful day.
Thank you.
You all missed the earlier part of the adventure when we were in the steam caves.
I don't mind that a bit.
Yeah, that was something. So I'm going to drink my Arrowhead water and just kind of stand back and look at this wonderful Arrowhead, which has been here, I guess, for, what is your estimate, thousands of years?
Thousands of years.
At least thousands of years. It's still here today, and it's still a fine example of California's gold.